Well, welcome everybody. This is your party Hustings for Central Executive Committee elections. My name's Anna Rotherley. I'm going to be chairing today's event, and I will also so let me go into the purpose. So the purpose of the Husting is to give members the opportunity to hear directly from candidates standing for election and to ask questions before voting. We will follow a standard format across all the regions. Today's session is going to consist of 1 minute opening statement for each candidate. 5 questions will be asked, and you will have 90 seconds for candidate to do their answers. And then on the closing remarks, you will be given 1 minute for the closing remarks. I will give you a 15-second warning sign. So I'll just raise my hand like this so I don't interrupt anybody. So when you get down to 15 seconds away from your 1 minute or your 90 seconds, I'll just raise my hand like this, and then you'll know that you need to wrap up in 15 seconds. Today we have...
Chair, I do apologise, Chair, but we were said, I received an email saying that we would get 90 seconds for an opening statement, and that's what I've prepared.
That's true. I concur with that.
I also prepared 90 seconds, yeah.
Right, okay, so 90 seconds it is. So if you do your 90 seconds, just remember that, you have to finish in that time as well. So 90 seconds for the opening statement, and as far as I'm aware, it's also 90 seconds to answer, and you will also get your opportunity to do your closing statement, and the closing statement is also a 90-minute closing statement.
I thought the closing statement was meant to be 60 seconds, but it's fine. We can go with 90 for everything if everyone's happy.
Well, I think we best stick with the 60, but according to my notes, it's 90. But we'll stick with the 60 for the last comments.
Is the 90 second for all the questions or for each question?
For each question.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many questions?
So the process today will be, you will do your introductions, so everybody will have the opportunity to do their opening remarks and introductions, and then we'll move down to the questions element, and the questions element consists of 5 questions, and you'll have the period of time to do the questions, and answers will be done in 90 seconds as far as I'm aware, and then from there on you will do your closing statement, which will be 60 seconds. So we're starting with 1 minute for opening statement, 90 seconds per answer for the 5 questions, and then we're closing with the 60 seconds in terms of your closing remarks. So anyway, shall we start with the process now? I'd just like to welcome everybody. I just want to let people know that we have one of our candidates, Megan Clark, who can't actually be with us today, but she has sent a video which was an option for candidates who couldn't be here in person. So first off, we're going to see the video from Megan Clark, and then I will go through the list of candidates, and you will all be able to do your opening remarks. Is that okay with everybody?
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Clark and I'm standing on the grassroots left slate in the West Midlands alongside Graham Jones. I'm so sorry I can't be with you at the Hustings today, but as you can see I'm on a counter demo in Warwick in the West Midlands to Patriotic Alternative, and part of the reason that I'm standing on the grassroots left slate is because we understand that your party doesn't just need to fight at the ballot box but also on our streets. So I hope you vote for me once voting opens, and I'll be on a hustings organised by members tomorrow. Apologies for today, but I'm needed here. Thank you.
Our first candidate, Megan Clark. So we're now going to move forward to Susan Moffat. If you'd like to do your opening comments, please.
I know I'm muted, but I can't hear anybody.
No, you're not muted. We can hear you, Sue. If you could speak a little bit louder.
So have you asked me to make my opening remarks?
Yes, I have. Yes, sorry.
I'm lip reading at the moment, so I'll take that.
Yes.
If you give me a thumbs up, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Sue Moffat. I'm standing to be elected onto the CEC for the West Midlands in order to be able to make sure that our West Midlands voices are properly represented and that we're not overlooked either as a region or from the areas that I live in Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent and Newcastle. I've got a lifelong history of community organising, activism and bringing communities and diverse voices together in order to bring about change on the streets in our communities and with policy change as well. When your party launched, I was invigorated, excited, like nearly 800,000 of us, and I really wanted to make sure that our new party hit the ground running and that we could make the difference that our communities, our country and our global communities need. The reason I'm standing is to play my part in making sure that that happens. We need a party that isn't inward looking. We need to be talking to our communities, engaging with our communities, make sure that our branches and our members are part of creating an invigorated, dynamic and effective party. We can't do that by always turning the argument inward. We need to be not only working from our grassroots and organising and campaigning, but also making sure that we're effective in the sorry, are you putting your hand up, Anna? I can't see you because you're small. We need to make sure that as well as direct action and community organising, that we're also effective
Thank you.
the electoral box as well. It doesn't need to be one or the other. It very definitely
Thank you,
needs to be
Sue.
both.
You've run over the time. Thank you. Okay, so can we take the next candidate, please? Fadil Corey, can you start your opening statement, please?
Fadil Takruri, and I would like to start by saying I have two observations about your party. First, the caliber and the commitment of the people involved are exceptional. I have read the resumes of the candidates in the West Midlands, and they are genuinely impressive. Second, there is a clear and shared commitment to justice for the Palestinian people. As a Palestinian, this matters deeply to me. In that sense, I already feel that I have won. That commitment to justice is not an abstract. It is rooted in my own political journey. I arrived in the UK in the 1980s and became involved in British politics almost immediately. My first confrontation with the right wing came in December 1985 with Jared Kaufman. 15 years later, we sat together on the board of Friends of Palestine. I have been involved in extensive campaigning, including a successful effort to change the law on FGM. The highlight of my political work was serving as West Midlands Regional Director under Jeremy. I was the only left-wing regional director at the time, and I am proud of what we have achieved for the West Midlands. With the support of comrades, including Sue Moffat, we empowered members, mentored young activists, and delivered real change. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadil. Right, so the next candidate is going to be Graham.
Hi, I'm Graham Jones, standing on the grassroots left slate alongside Megan Clark. I'm a family carer, an activist, and author from Telford who came up through housing activism, organising with tenants against abusive landlords, protesting outside neglectful housing providers, and gathering with communities resisting eviction. Your party must not be a party led by those landlords and bosses, but a party led by tenants and workers. I'm an educator through writing, facilitating workshops and design training courses for organisers. I want to focus on developing our membership so I no longer need to lead because we brought up a new generation of leaders from the working class. We build working class power in both elections and on the streets. Now is not the time for Labour 2.0. The Green Party now occupies that space, and best of luck to them in the by-election. It's time for 50% of membership subs to go to branches so the grassroots of our party has power and resources. Money not going to MPs paying for their hotels at the top. I'm also disabled and from the LGBTQ community. Your party must not consider people as an afterthought. 1/4 of British people are disabled and 1/4 of the grassroots left slate are too. I will advocate for those of you who are so often stripped of power in our society and even our parties. And if I get a paid position in the party, I will take no more than an average worker's wage. No more parties of careerists detached from the working class. Now is the time for a party led by ordinary people. If you want this in your leadership, vote for Graham Jones 1, Megan Clark 2, and support the other grassroots left candidates.
Thank you, Graham. And next we have Alex Fox, if you would like to start, Alex.
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm from Bromsgrove in the West Midlands, and I'm standing as an independent candidate for the CEC in this region. I've been a socialist my entire adult life. In my early working years, I was one of the youngest shop stewards in Usdaw, was representing members in grievances, recruiting new members, fighting for workers' rights on the ground. And though I'm now a communications manager in a software firm, my roots are still and will always be in socialism. I live with my partner, who's a forensic mental health nurse in the NHS, and our rescue lurcher, Dave, who is a very good boy. I have a 13-year-old neurodiverse son. I turned vegetarian last year because I could no longer tolerate the lack of animal welfare in our agricultural industry. I regard myself as just an ordinary person who believes that we can build a better country for everyone. I joined your party twice because we launched it twice because I believed it would be different. I believed it would be truly member-led and a last hope for genuine socialist politics in this country for at least a generation. But we're already at a crossroads. Factionalism has taken hold and slates are fighting over the soul of this party before we've barely begun. We left Labour to escape this. We must be member-led or nothing. So what does that actually mean? To me, it means three things. It means transparent communication systems so members can coordinate without surrendering their personal data if they wish. It's total transparency about who has held power so far, what they've been paid, and what access they've had to your information. And immediate branch formation so local members can organise from the ground up. I'm the only independent in this region. So if you want independent representation on the CEC, please vote for a voice that will answer to you, not to any factional machines or slates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Right, so we're going to go through the order of the candidates. We're going to start with Sue Moffat. Sue, can you hear me? Sue,
Okay,
can you just raise your hand?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, so we're going to start with the questions now. So question number 1 for you, Sue, and you have 90 seconds to respond, is what leadership and governance experience do you have? Why would you be an asset to the CEC? Thank you.
Okay. I'll talk first of all about political leadership and governance experience. I was honoured to sit as a CLP rep for Newcastle and Stoke-on-Trent in the wider Staffordshire constituency Labour parties on the regional board. Fidel was the director of that board and it was under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. Sitting on that board, I made sure that our local voices were not overlooked. We organised to make sure that the Metropolitan of Birmingham didn't overwhelm the smaller towns and shires. I've been secretary of the CLP locally. I'm the director of Newvic Borderlines, which is an outward-looking part of the Newvic Theatre in Staffordshire. I'm also the chair of a local charity that raises awareness of period poverty and campaigns both on the floor but also is very much involved in policy change. So we played our part with others in making sure that the government stopped taxing tampons and made sure that all secondary schools had sanitary products available for all of their pupils. I have been chair of a national mental health charity, and in those roles as trustees on those boards, we have to be compliant, we have to operate legally, we have to make sure that the data that our charities and our organisations...
So can I actually start?
Yeah, I'll wind up. So for me, the idea of governance and leadership means that our party, your party, will be robust legally and also
So can we,
safe.
we need to start now. Yeah, okay, so second candidate, we've got Fidel Chakori. Fidel, can you see the question on the screen in front of you, or would you like me to ask it again? I'll go through again. What leadership and governance experience do you have, and why would you be an asset to the CEC?
Okay, I'm going to go through the list of things I've done in life, and you stop me when... I have been a regional director in the West Midlands, and I think probably I'm the only one with that sort of experience in the left movement. That is a great experience. We fought against a lot of right-wing interference, and we managed to do a lot of changes with the support of people like Sue Moffat. There was only 3 or 4 people on our side in the West Midlands region. As well, in around the 2000, I got involved with a number of tenants and a number of friends, and we created a tenant-owned and a tenant-operated housing association as part of the regeneration of West Bromwich. That is still going strong. I volunteered for 10 years, and I left in around 2010, 2009. As well, I sat on a strategic partnership on the West Midlands. I was invited to sit on a strategic partnership in the West Midlands because of my voluntary work, of my experience. I worked with the city of Coventry and with the LGA to confront FGM. We did it without alienating communities and working together with communities, establishing a communication lessons. We successfully changed the law. The only upheaval we had is with the Secretary of State for Education refused to make it as part of the curriculum. But the law have changed, and I'm so proud of that. That wasn't by, that took a lot of communication and governance. I sat on the Unite Regional Political Committee. I've been a chair of governors. I've been a governor. A number of other organizations where I helped set up and help run. What I would bring to the CEC is all this wealth of experience. And I will hope...
Can we start to wind up now?
Yeah, I will bring all this wealth of experience, and I will hope to build a party that is sustainable, that is respectable, and that is member-led, but also an electoral machine.
Thank you. Sorry, can we have Graham Jones next? Please, can we all try and stick to the allotted time? It's because that's the fairest way to do things. Everybody gets the same amount of time to speak. So when you're ready, Graham, if you'd like to start.
Okay, one of the roles I've taken up in the movement is as an organizational design consultant, which actually I've done for like small social enterprise businesses as well as activists and political organizations like the International Network for Democratic Economic Planning. I started helping relatively recently, and I do one-to-one assistance for activists on how to improve their organizational governance, basically. I've been involved in leading a number of groups, Radical Assembly in London about 10 years ago, which had assembly formats across the city and some in the rest of the UK, where we brought people in to have participatory discussions. I was part of Radical Think Tank, which a few down the line gave birth to Extinction Rebellion. I've been involved in lots of small community organizations. I had a anti-capitalist mindfulness group in London. I was involved in the Radical Housing Network, and that had lots of individual groups. I was part of Tower Hamlets Renters, Action East End, and Save Chris Street Market, in which I was one of the leading members. I'm a member of the governance working group of the Democratic Socialists of Your Party. I've given talks at the Ella Baker School of Organising I'm a published author on organizational theory and political strategy. So I have the practical and the theoretical experience and knowledge on a variety of scales, from the local to the nationwide. And that's what I'm already doing, is governance.
Thank you, Alex. Right, we're moving on to question number 2. And again,
I didn't answer the first question, Anna.
Sorry?
Yeah, that was Graham. Alex hasn't responded yet.
Oh, sorry. So sorry. Alex, can I bring you in? Sorry, apologies. Can you answer the first question?
I mean, I could just steal Graham's answer as mine. That's fine. I joined your party, like I think a lot of people did, after, you know, most of life kind of on the outside of politics looking in. And I reached the point where I couldn't take that anymore and I had to be involved, and your party really spoke to me. As I said in my opening statement, I really believe it's the last chance for a genuine socialist movement. You know, my leadership and governance experience comes from my personal professional life. I lead a team at work in a software firm which has giant energy major customers all over the world, and we work in a really critical area of maritime safety and security, or maritime assurance, to make sure there's no accidents at sea, which is, I think, is a really noble cause, and it's a really serious job that I take really seriously. As I already said, in my early professional life, I was a trade union shop steward. That gave me real experience and committed me to socialist politics, and it gave me sort of real insight to how rights are very easily trodden over by big business and big corporations, and why movements like this are so important, and why organizing at the grassroots level is so important. So, you know, my governance leadership is very limited politically, and I don't mind saying that. But I believe I have real skills from my personal professional life that can be a real asset in organising in your party and in your party leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex, and apologies again for missing you out. Right, so we're going now to the second question, and that's to Susan Moffat. So can you hear me? Question 2. Labour's historic base in the West Midlands has created. How can your party capitalise on this?
Okay, so the Labour Party left a vacuum for decades. When Tony Blair became the leader, they decided that they could take the working class and all of those industrial communities for granted. They turned their face in another direction and left behind those communities with a devastating effect. One of the massive effects has been the exploitation of the anxiety and fear of those post-industrial communities by the far right. And it is absolutely devastating to hear what was supposed to be a socialist democratic party, the Labour Party, use the same narrative, the same arguments, and basically try and out reform. But that does give us an opportunity. In 2017, the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn came extremely close to getting into power. If we had got into power at that point, this would be a very different country and this would be a very different world, and I believe that sincerely. But those communities are still there and are desperately in need of a community-based, a working-based, political mass socialist party, and that is the work that we have to do. We can't take this for granted. We need to be on the ground organising and being brave enough to re-engage with those communities that Labour has left behind, and we can do it.
Thank you, Susan. Right, so next we have Fidel Tikori, and the question is, Fidel Tikori, and the question is, Labour's historic base has been in the West Midlands has been created. How can your party capitalise on this?
Yeah, I know this very well. I saw the Labour vote collapsing. The first thing we need to do is to establish honesty and integrity with the voter. And this party is well qualified to do that. The other exercise we need to do is real listening to people. Without knowing what they want, we cannot formulate an understanding of their needs and how to respond to it. A genuine listening exercise. That's how we start working with people. They need to feel that they are heard and listened to. Eventually, we need to start providing a vision with real solutions, provide a day-to-day solutions to a day-to-day problems, but also a strategic solutions to the infrastructure and strategic problems that we have. We need to create hope and confidence with people. At the moment, a lot of people feel the sense of no belonging, feel they are ignored, they feel outsiders. That is paramount for putting a glue into society. Without hope, people will be on the margins. Ultimately, I think we need to create an economy which serves the majority of people, not the vested interest and capital. Economy is the core of sustaining governance and society. So integrity, listening, economy, hope, these are my words for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Graham Jones. The same question. Labour's historic base in the West Midlands is created. How can your party capitalise on this?
The Labour has completely detached itself from the working class, and we need to have a party which is deeply embedded in both the workers' movement and wider social movements of both workplace organising and in communities around issues like housing. For me, that means we need a strategy which is not just based around elections. We do need elections. We should be running in elections and we should use them to build the party and to build class power. But it's not just about going out on doorsteps in time for an election to get out the vote. We need to be out on doorsteps all year round. We need to be doing, as Adel said, the kind of listening exercises. There are groups already in our network doing this, like in the Stoke Proto branch. They are going out door to door and just listening to what people's problems are so that they can start building campaigns that are tailored precisely to their local area. I want to roll that kind of tactic out across the entirety of the organization because it's extremely powerful. There are parties in Central Europe that have used this tactic to grow radical, actually more radical parties than your party, extremely fast into national parties which are taking seats. I want to roll that out. Properly funded, of course, and provided with those 800,000 people who I believe still really do want something. I don't think the Greens are enough. I think we need more action at the local level. In the West Midlands, obviously, we're seeing things like the council cuts in Birmingham, the bin strikes.
Yes,
I was down at the bin strikes on Friday. We need to be integrated into the workers' movement organically and supporting people's struggles.
Thank you, Graham. And Alex, same question for you. Labour's historic base in the West Midlands is created. How can your party capitalise on this? Thank you.
Sure. Well, as people have already said, Labour abandoned the working class quite viciously. But the real problem here is not that they've just abandoned the working class who are now waiting for something to come along. The working class are moving to, parties like Reform. The last time I checked, they were 16 points ahead of Labour in the polls, something ridiculous like that. And Labour doesn't talk to people about the issues that really matter. The cost of living, the future of the NHS, having secure jobs. They just offer people the same as they have for years, which is, a managed decline covered up by a fake culture war and any other distraction that suits them. But your party can capitalise on this because we want to do something different. We want our branches in every single constituency, in every single city across the country. As Graham mentioned, the Stoke Proto branch, I was really privileged to go to the Stoke Proto branch a couple of weeks ago, along with Sue and Fidel, and met the people there who are really incredible people on the doorstep, talking to people about the issues that matter to them. And I think that's where we differ from all the other political movements, because we are genuine organisers and we can bring that message to the doorstep where it needs to be. You know, there's a school around the corner from me which doubles as a food bank. We need to focus on changing society so food banks are no longer necessary. You know, real grassroots bread and butter issues.
Alex, can I start bringing you to a close? Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're going on to question 3, and this is for Sue again. Question 3, how can your party offer a real alternative to Labour and Reform? How do we build support?
Okay. People are fed up with politicians, and we're not surprised by that, are we? Because they've been lied to over and over again, and whenever they see whether it's councillors or MPs out on the street, they know that all they're out there doing is trying to get their vote. So what we need to be doing is rebuilding those relationships in our community. Both Graham and Alex have already spoken about the work that we've been doing in Stoke and Newcastle. That kind of grassroots from the street kind of work is the stuff that I do every single day. Whether it's at work or through Acorn or through Unite as a union. But we need to rebuild trust, and we also need to be very brave about that. We listen, but we also deliver, because there's no point in raising expectations of communities and making promises that cannot be fulfilled. So we need to make sure that your party is ethical, that our policies are grounded in the things that matter to the communities that were represented, and that through direct action and through political leverage, that we're able to begin to change in a tangible, noticeable way the experience of day-to-day life for our communities. We need secure, safe housing. We need to stop food banks being a part of ordinary day-to-day life. We need to be fighting with unions, organising in workplaces to make sure that proper, secure jobs, decently paid.
Sorry, can I bring you to a close now? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And next we have Fadl, and it's the same question. How can your party offer a real alternative to Labour and Reform, and how do we build support? Thank you.
Integrity, vision, hope, and develop trust. That is important. Immediately, we need to respond to a number of issues. The cost of living crisis, not through food banks, but through creating real jobs and needed jobs. Housing is in crisis since the 2000 or even before in this country. It's unbelievable. Since we sold the council houses, or we allowed the sale of the council houses, the shortage in decent housing is phenomenal, and we need to respond to that. A lot of my children's generation, the young people, cannot afford a house. They live in misery, and they pay up to 40% of their income on housing, some of them. The hospital and NHS waiting lists. If you go to your GP, you can be up to 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Some cancer patients are missing their opportunities. These are immediate things. If we are to build the trust with the community, we need to highlight these issues and respond to them. Again, it's bread and butter issues. Cost of living, housing, and the NHS. These what makes British people glue together. These are the basics in my view. But also, honesty, integrity, and building trust, and ultimately building hope, a vision for the country, a vision for the world, which is missing at the moment.
Thank you, Fadl. I bring you to a close. Thank you. And next can we have Graham Jones, repeating the question again, a bit repetitive, but here we go. How can your party offer a real alternative to Labour and Reform, and how do we build support?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to imply in the question as well, also the Greens, because for me, if we don't differentiate from the Greens, there's no point in existing. We need concrete visions of the future. Even the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn tended to fall back onto 20th century modes of social democracy, basically what they already have in Northern Europe. That's, for me, a good first step. That can't be the limit of our imagination. We have to say, we need to get beyond capitalism. We need not just a few nationalizations, we need mass strategic nationalizations and then democratization to get us beyond the capitalist system itself. Bread and butter issues, I agree with Fadel, but I agree that they're a starting point, because we need to take from there and say, okay, this isn't just a problem of governance. It's not just a problem that the government has not given you enough money. It's not the problem they haven't, they're not supporting their councils enough. It is fundamental to the system that it is driving us all in this direction, that fascism is the outcome of the very economic system that we are part of. We cannot, just skirt around this issue because we want to get elected. We need, if it takes us a little bit longer, if we have to go deeper into communities and show them that we care about them in a way that Labour, Reform, even the Greens aren't capable of, then we need to do that, because we need class power to beat fascism. It won't be beaten in the ballot box. It won't be beaten by skirting the issues. And everything else, criticising NATO on an international level where the Greens prevaricate on it. We need radical transparency in the CEC, which none of these parties do. I want to release the minutes from the very first meeting onwards, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, and so Alex, please. Question number 3, how can your party offer a real alternative to Labour and Reform? How do you build support? Thank you.
Well, we build support by being everywhere Labour and Reform aren't. As I've said, Labour just offers managed decline, and Reform offers culture wars and scapegoats. We need to be honest about the real cause of the problems in this country. It's not migrants, right? It's the system that's rigged for billionaires and millionaires, as we've kind of all alluded to. But if we stand with the trade unions and we support the strikes, like the bin strikes, if we push to renationalise our industries and our utilities, if we help to fight evictions and organised, if we go and support the food banks in our local community and be that visible presence that you will see a Reform, Labour or Tory at, then that's how we can build the support for our movement, by being an actual visible political presence in our communities and in our neighbourhoods. It's not a complicated thing. You would think it's a really simple thing to do, but so many political parties get this wrong, and they're complacent to sort of sit in Westminster and pretend like they're representing their constituents, when really they aren't, and really they don't really care about you. That's what we need to do. We need to take that action and be that change in the community.
Thank you, Alex. So we're now going to move on to question number 4, and we're going to go back to Sue. So question number 4, we had a lot of questions from members about support for Palestine. How can your party meaningfully support the Palestinian cause?
I know that Fidel will have a lot to say about this, and I've heard him speak very passionately about feeling so safe in the party, and knowing that this is a party that really supports him, his family, his community in Palestine. Straightforwardly, we know that there is a genocide happening in Gaza. We know that the ambitions of the Netanyahu government is a very old-fashioned imperialistic ambition. We know that the so-called peace group with Blair and Trump and the rest of them have no other ambition other than to build on the backs of the slaughtered, an opportunity to make even more money and exploit that land. Our voices will be raised in every possible place, whether it's showing solidarity outside North Staff's Hospital every Tuesday evening, people standing for Palestine there, whether it's on the mass marches, through supporting all of the causes that quite rightly are calling for a free Palestine. I believe that this is one of the places that your party is already ahead of the curve. I think the mass number of members within your party, we don't need to win them over. Yeah. So be present, be vocal, be loud, and show solidarity and free Palestine. That's our ambition with this movement.
So next we've got Fadel Takuri, and it's the same question to you, Fadel. We had a lot of questions from members about support for Palestine. How can your party meaningfully support the Palestinian cause? Thank you.
Party is giving me hope. Yeah, I think we are already doing a lot for giving the Palestinians hope and putting the Palestinian issue on the agenda. It's not by chance that this, disgraceful Labour government have decided to recognize Palestine after our existence, after your party was announced. So we're already doing something towards that. I look everywhere and I see Palestinian support in this party, and that's very heartening. We need to keep going. We need to keep doing what we're doing. We need to support the protests and make sure that we all can protest and enshrine the right to protest in law. We need to expose the imperialist arm trade. Arm trade is a major problem in this world. They create wars so they can sell arms. What's happening in Gaza is an arm exhibition. The other thing is to get Starmer out as soon as possible. He is complicit. And for sure, apply international law, empower the United Nations. Without humanity getting together, we cannot restrict capital from doing what it's doing in the third world countries. We need humanity. We need United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, can we have Graham, please? Graham, same question for you. We had a lot of questions from members about support for Palestine. How can your party meaningfully support the Palestinian cause? Thank you.
So first of all, of course, we need to continue the work we're already doing and mobilising for Palestine. The Grassroots Left Slate organised a block on last week's Palestine March, which brought together lots of the proto-branches. It means we're organising, but it means we're disrupting. We can't just go out on the streets and do a quiet march every so often and feel satisfied about ourselves. That is something important. That is showing solidarity. Those are very, very important, and they've been vital to keeping the pace up. But we live in the center of empire. We need to disrupt the gears. We need to support those who are disrupting the gears. We need to push against the criminalization of protest. We need to push against the destruction of juries. We need to support the people who are on hunger strike. We need to assume we need to avoid assuming that we know better than what Palestinians do. We have to take action here that disrupts what is going over there. But we also have to change our tack, I believe. I think the left in this country has got things wrong. I think it has, for example, I have Muslim comrades on the Grassroots Left Slate who have been actually incensed at the discourse over the past few months about your party losing the trust of the Muslim community, implicitly because we've included transgender liberation in our constitution. They are Muslim transgender allies, and they are incensed at being turned into a homogenous block of a single Muslim community that has one opinion. That is not an anti-racist position. White secular leftists need to look again at what they are doing. They need to find ways to make connections with progressive, queer, transgender Muslims and people who are allied in the community.
Thank you, Graham. And next, the same question to Alex. And we had a lot of questions from members about support for Palestine. How can your party meaningfully support the Palestinian cause? Thank you.
So I remember becoming really politically disenfranchised in 2003 when I'd kind of started my career and we waged an illegal war on Iraq. It seems mad to me that was 23 years ago and not much has changed. I think the treatment of the Palestinian people is one of the crimes, the greatest crimes of humanity. I think most of us here have been on a march for Palestine. I know I did in London. It was a great experience. Fidel is Palestinian and has family in the West Bank today. I'll answer this question a little bit more radically than everyone else has because I've got a bit more rope maybe as an independent. But if I was part of a government leadership of your party majority, I would immediately end diplomatic relations with Israel. I would petition the UN to put a security force in Gaza and the West Bank, and if the US vetoed it, I'd go around the UN and I'd put a coalition of troops there to actually give security to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, because they have no one to fight for them, and they have no one to secure their national identity or liberation. And I think we just need to be a little bit more radical with how we support Palestine and Palestinians in our messaging and interactions.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for keeping to time. Right, so we're on to our fifth and final question now. It's the same response, the same kinds of timings. Please try and stick within your timings, it's very important. Okay, so we're going to move on to Sue Moffat first, and the fifth question is, we had a question from a member called Dawn about your party and the NHS. What should your party's policy be, and how can it campaign for it?
Straightforwardly, the NHS should not be being sold off by stealth. It needs to be reinvested in. So it's very easy for us to say that. We know, again, for decades, through, first of all, Blair's PFIs and the primary care trusts being really put up in competition against each other and privatised from the inside. We need to stop that straight away, and your party will stop that straight away. It will be an NHS as imagined by Devon when it was first set up, where it's free at the point of need to every person, whatever their age, whatever their ethnicity. If they're in our country, if they're part of our communities, they will get the best health care. There is no need for the National Health Services to be depleted and run down. There is no need for a better model. We are still the sixth biggest economy on the planet, and the running down of the NHS is a political decision. Your party, when we get into power, and I do believe that we will get into power, one of our first actions will be to make sure that we bring more people into the NHS as workers, that are people like our junior doctors are paid properly, and we invest our national wealth into a national health service.
Thank you, Sue. And next is Fadil Takori. If you're wondering why I'm being so repetitive, we don't know whether people who are listening are actually going to tally up the responses to the questions, which is why I'm just repetitive and asking the questions. So we had a question from a member called Dawn about your party and the NHS. What should your party's policy be, and how can it campaign for it? Thank you, Fadil.
Good. Yeah, thank you. We should campaign to end BFI. BFI is ruining the NHS. I know firsthand on this. The other thing is, in 2019, I think Germany proposed a national generics company. I had a lot to do with that. That would end the bad pharma influence on the NHS. A lot of our resources is going to empower and profit pharmacological companies. The big thing is to remove profit as an incentive from the people illness. In an immediate form is to do targeted delivery of the NHS services. A good example in the 90s was the Health Action Zone, which were a great success. And as somebody who was working in this industry in the 90s and early 2000s, I saw the impact in a lot of deprived communities until Alan Milburn stopped them. These are the things which I would do immediately to try to help with the NHS. In the BFI, in the relationship with bad pharma, target delivery, and strategically in the relation between illness and profit.
Thank you. You finished.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping to time. Right, so the next person to answer the question is Graham Jones. Same question, Graham. We had a question from a member called Dawn about your party and the NHS. What should your party's policy be and how can it campaign for it? Thank you.
So yes, we need to refund the NHS, but as in my previous questions, I don't think that is the end. I think that is the beginning. It's not enough to say more funding for the NHS. We do need the complete removal of privatisation from the NHS, bring it into full public ownership, but we also need to democratise it. We need to be run by workers, users, local community members and stakeholders. That means we also need local participatory budgeting in our councils themselves. We need to restructure the state itself. This goes beyond what Labour and Green Party are usually saying, because it is not enough to turn to a previous status quo. Like I said before, 20th century social democracy is no longer possible. It required the pressure of external forces like the Soviet Union, and that's not actually a radical opinion. It was said in Parliament at the very founding of the NHS by a Tory, Quintin Hogg. We must give them reforms or they will give us revolution. We were only able to bring about the social democratic reforms of the 20th century because of the threat of a larger left-wing force outside the country, which no longer exists. We cannot sustain capitalist social democracy. We cannot just bring in reforms. We have to be socialist. We need worker control and ownership of the economy.
Thank you, Graham. So can we bring in Alex? And again, it's the fifth question. We had a question from a member called Dawn about what your party and the NHS and what should your party's policy be and how can it campaign for it? Thank you.
Sure. I agree with Graham. There's no room for social democrats in this country. We need to be democratic socialists. The NHS will not survive. Otherwise, as I've mentioned already, my partner is a forensic mental health nurse. Apologies. So, I hear firsthand the stories of people that have been through our criminal justice system because, for reasons well out of their control, because they have mental illness. They essentially just get abandoned in care homes. They have no real prospects of rehabilitation because there's just no funding there for that. So there's so much of the NHS that needs to be redressed and rebuilt. I think the two big P's are the major problem. That's PFI and Palantir. Palantir is a massive global company involved in some of the murkiest things, such as AI that drives warfare, and they have access to all your NHS data right now, and we should be furious about that as a country. We should be on national strike about that. So we need to unplug private equity from the NHS. We need to buy out PFI contracts that should never have been put into the NHS in the first place by Labour or Tories. We need to take it back into complete public ownership, and it needs to be run from the grassroots like so much else.
Thank you, Alex. And so now that's the end of our questions, and now we're going to move into the finishing statements and remarks. And so we're going to start off again with Sue, and you have 1 minute. Yeah, you have 1 minute starting from now.
Okay, right. So
do try and keep. Sorry. Let me just tell you 1 second. Please try and keep yourself within the time frame as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Start from now.
So I believe that your party is a party of members of grassroots people. What we can be and what I would like to be if I'm on this CEC as a strong voice for the West Midlands. Our strength is our members, so we need to make sure that we have strong, active local branches. It's not a choice between direct action or political action. We can and we must have both. So we need to be respecting, working from the grassroots upwards, but making sure that we turn those actions into political and effective policies. We can't be a party which just talks to ourselves. We need to recognise that we need to be engaging with those communities that have lost faith in politics. I believe your party can be that party that can do that. I will work for a member-led and organised and principled party. And what I want to be able to see from the CEC is that we're focused on collective power. strong branches that are the roots of our party.
Thank you, Sue. I'm going to have to bring you to a close. Next, can we please have Dr. Corey, and you have 1 minute for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I went to school in Farah refugee camp. I have done well in life, and I'm deeply grateful. What my journey have taught me is injustice today affects our tomorrow. Equality and solidarity are the best guarantees for creativity and sustainability. And power means responsibility. My motivation and Sue's motivations today are not nostalgia. It is the future. Support me and Sue. We both have a track record of empowering members, motivating them, and delivery in this region. We both understand that the potential locked in our movement and in our class is great. For me, this party represents a lifelong commitment to socialist ideals, peace, justice, solidarity, and political courage. And it is the necessary response for the challenges facing us today and our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, can we have Graham, please?
We don't need another Green Party. We don't need a Labour 2.0. We need to build class power from the grassroots and fight in elections, with your party as the bridge between the ballot box and the streets, because we won't defeat fascism with elections alone. Then we will be doing something the Greens can't do, and we can work alongside them where appropriate and contest elections against them where we have the chance. We can fill different niches. The branches must be well-funded, respected, formalised and actively supported, as should the proto-sections like the LGBTQ and disabled sections. Member democracy has to be more than just a word we use in election campaigns. Please vote for Graham Jones 1, Megan Clark 2, and support the rest of the Grassroots Left slate.
Thank you, Graham. And finally, we have Alex Fox. Alex, if you would like to start your final statement. Thank you.
This is the most critical moment in your party's short history. Right now, we are choosing the kind of party we will be and we want to be. We can repeat the mistakes of Labour and have factional warfare and slates dividing us, power concentrated in the hands of a few, or we can be something genuinely new and something truly member-led. I'm not part of the grassroots left and I'm not part of the many. I'm just an ordinary person from the West Midlands who believes in socialism, who's fought for workers and who wants to see a better country for everyone. Someone that thinks you should have the power, not factional machines. The old ways will destroy us before we've started. Unity doesn't mean everyone agreeing. It means structures that give every member a voice, transparency that builds trust, and leadership that serves the membership, not the other way around. It's about respecting organisations and organisers from day one. If you want a CEC member who'll fight for genuine member democracy, who'll demand transparency, and who will reject factional games, please vote independent in the West Midlands and rank Alex Fox as number 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everybody for keeping to time. So that brings us to the end of the session on the questions and the remarks and finishing statements. And so that just leaves me to say thank you very much to all our candidates. I know it's not easy to come along and do this, but you've all done an incredible job. I'd also just like to make a notification that voting opens on the 9th of February and runs through to the 23rd of February for those people wanting to vote for their candidates. You can find out more about the CEC elections, including all the candidates standing in the West Midlands and the public office holders role at yourparty.uk/CEC-election, and you can find all the details there. So thank you very much for participating today. Good luck, candidates, in the future. Thank you and goodbye.